We're bringing healthy back. Them other bros don't know about the facts. Your health is special, metabolic, yeah. Let's build new habits, make them sexy, yeah. Sustainable life.
Hi, welcome to the Magic of Metabolic Health podcast, where optimal metabolic health is our goal. We're here to get you there. Today is our very first episode entitled, What is Metabolic Health?
Yes, and I'm so excited about our mission to bring optimized metabolic health to the people.
Hi, wonderful. My name is Dr. Funmmy Awayami. You can call me Dr. Fu for short. I am a metabolic health practitioner, trained hospitalist, resident at Newark Beth Israel Medical Center, and this is what I do.
Yeah, and my name is Amelia. I'm an ACE certified personal trainer and food and lifestyle coach. A little bit about us. So we're on separate coasts. I'm on the west coast of the U.S. Fumi's on the east coast. But we actually met kind of in the middle in Indiana back in 2013. And since then, we've become ride or dies. And we've both explored a lot of interests in life. We've traveled together. We've explored our health together. And at this point, we're coming up. Actually, we just passed our 10th friendversary.
Crazy, right?
And it was in, I guess it was in August of 2023. And we were at a metabolic health conference together. And we decided, you know what? We need to get this information to the people.
That's right. And
so we decided,
to
make this podcast.
I love that. So yes, as in, that conference really changed like the course of like our friendship. I feel like we were always doing like travel stuff together. We were always doing like our own separate metabolic stuff. But we got together and we were able to like see like other metabolic practitioners doing stuff. And I was like really excited. And so when the idea of doing this podcast and bringing it and making it relatable and bringing it to the people came up, I'm like, sign me up for sure. I want to get people to understand that we can make metabolic health sexy, as in we can make it sexy again. And the question was it ever sexy before? And yes, it's always been sexy. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we will continue to discuss that topic for sure. So I guess we want to get this party started, right? A little bit more about our podcast in general. We have a plethora, a giant, beautiful toolbox of resources for you all, both research-based, some anecdotal, experiential stories from our personal lives. And we will also be interviewing guests on our show occasionally. Sometimes it'll just be Funmmy and I dialoguing. Other times we'll have researchers come on as a guest. We'll have metabolic health practitioners. We'll have authors. And we will also have everyday Joes, like ourselves. Because we're not exclusive, we're inclusive. And we want to make sure that anybody who has a health story to share is welcome to share it with us, because this is a safe space. It's a welcoming space. And we want to create a family here so you can feel supported on your metabolic health journey.
As we should, honestly. We're in this place where, everyone has a different journey that brings them to metabolic health or why they even got involved in this. And so that journey all brings us back to here. And so let's meet in this place and talk about it,
Yeah, for sure. And so we keep saying this term, metabolic health. And for a lot of you, you may or may not have a solid grasp or understanding of what that is. So to get the party started, we're actually going to share a very short video that we compiled with submissions from some of our favorite metabolic health professionals. And the challenge was for these folks to send us a video of themselves, super simple. You'll see that, it's not studio quality, but it doesn't matter. It's the thought that counts, right? So we asked them, what is metabolic health? Because we wanted people to be able to hear different perspectives, but on a really simple level, right? And so what we did is we said, you have to answer this question. in 5 words or less. And let me tell you, some of these folks were like, excuse me, what? You mean 5 sentences? And we're like, no, we are simplifying, defining metabolic health. Excuse me, I have a little cold, so I'm going to sound like a frog every now and then. But we're like, no, we're bringing this to the people, okay? We're not at a research facility. We're not at a conference. Like, this is the real deal. We need to normalize talking about metabolic health. It needs to become an everyday thing, and everybody and their mom can be like, hey, what's the status of your metabolic health? Oh, mine's great. How about you? So we got a few submissions, and some of them, they went beyond the 5-word answer, but we're still going to be inclusive.
It's tough.
And,
this is tough.
Right? So please enjoy. We're going to pop this video in real quick, and we'll be back in a second.
What is metabolic health? Frankly, it's optimal health. Straight up.
Metabolic health is about your microenvironment, gut-brain connection, insulin resistance, fasting, optimal circadian rhythm, and physical activity.
Hi, I'm Marco Gazella from West Virginia. What is metabolic health? I would say in brief, it's living life without a problem list. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
Metabolic health is optimal physical, mental, and spiritual health.
It's turning around insulin resistance.
All right, what a collection. Come on. As in, I know it was hard to do it in 5 words, but they did a really great job. So Amelia, what is your 5-word response to the question, what is metabolic health?
Joyful life without chronic disease.
All right.
Yes, succinct. I rehearsed that.
Very succinct. I loved it.
How about you, Dr. Funmmy?
Mine is living energetically free of disease. Yes.
Nice.
That's pretty where I want to be with that. So, there's some general ideas of what metabolic health is. And so let's talk about, in order for you to understand what optimizing metabolic health is, you need to know what is poor metabolic health. And we'll talk about the science of what is the difference between poor metabolic health and what is the science of optimizing your metabolic health. When I say poor metabolic health, I can be talking about a number of things. And we're talking about poor gut health, excessive gas, bloating, indigestion, constipation. You can even have migraines from poor metabolic health. And that leads us to talk about like the different things that are markers of poor metabolic health when you go to the doctor. So we talk about things like an A1C greater than 5.7. We're talking about heart disease, high blood pressure, depression. We're talking about poor sleep hygiene. We're talking about a lot of different things. And so back to the first point when I was talking about A1C. And A1C is essentially, HbA1c is essentially your glycosylated red blood cells. So I'm using a lot of like medical terminology. So I'm going to break it down even further. So when you go to the doctor and you're trying to be screened for pre-diabetes or diabetes, the doctor will usually test for something called hemoglobin A1c. And so what it is that it is the marker of how sugary your blood is. So your blood picks up sugar from its environment. And so if you're picking up too much sugar from its environment, that means there's too much sugar in your blood. When you eat something, you create sugar. And so your cells should immediately absorb that. So if it's just hanging around in your blood vessels, it causes lots of problems in your system. It causes kidney problem, nerve problem, eye disease. It causes a lot of issues. So that is a marker of insulin resistance or too much glucose or whatever the case may be. So if you do a random hemoglobin A1c and it's greater than 5.7, bad news bear, you have insulin resistance, and there might be an issue with how you're metabolizing your sugar. So this is why it's very important to get this checked at your local doctor, your primary care physician, or AKA your metabolic specialist. And that's just like one marker of like poor metabolic health. There's a number of things that you can do to optimize it. And so when I talk about optimizing it, I want to talk about just like a couple of things. Good sleep, appropriate appetite, living pain free, having a hemoglobin A1C less than 5.6, and then just spontaneous joy and happiness. As in, if you're someone that you're not, these are not things that you're seeing in your life, this is something that we can help you optimize here at the Magic of Metabolic Health.
Indeed. So I thought that was really interesting. Spontaneous joy and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever talks about that when they say metabolic health? Well, we do,
We
baby.
do. We
We talk
do.
about it.
We do.
And personally, I've struggled with a number of the conditions that Dr. Funmmy just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And although maybe I don't present as someone who might struggle with their A1C or their iron levels or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely had my own journey with those things.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we kind of continue developing the podcast and, picking topics and things that you all tell us are important to you,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to get down and dirty. We're going to get deep, and we're going to talk a lot about one specific thing. This will be a recurring theme in our podcast series, and it's going to be about behavior change.
Ooh, yes. I love that.
Because, we can have a lot of facts, we can have a lot of science and data, we can have a lot of, lab-based whatever reports. This is, you're more likely to die or not die if you do this or don't do that.
Yeah.
And, we respect science and we understand, obviously, Funmmy knows the importance of good science.
Sure.
And so we're going to be bringing in some scientists, some badass scientists to discuss, these topics. And we're going to bring in specialists who know how to make the change that we need to optimize our metabolic health. Because for some folks, fear of data, like, oh my God, if I do this, I'm going to die early. Some of that works for some people.
Sure.
But data isn't always enough for a lot of folks. It has to be, you have to have a why.
Sure.
Right? You have to have a purpose in your heart, in your mind to, not only figure out a goal, but to accomplish that goal. So for lasting behavior change to work, we're going to talk about all those lovely components and dynamics a little bit today.
Sure.
So Funmmy, if you want to kind of continue on to that.
So one of the main focal points of this podcast is talking about behavior change and why behavior change is so difficult and how to get you there. They say that it takes 21 days to develop a behavior and 6 months of doing something in order for it to be a habit and all these things. As in, the fact of the matter is that you're not new to the fact that you should watch what you eat and you should weigh a certain amount and you should go see your primary care physician. And you hear different studies about, okay, you can't eat eggs, it might kill you, or you can't drink coffee, that might kill you, or red meat is good or red meat's not good. All this stuff is like hearsay unless you're actually able to exact a change and do the behavior to change. If you want better sleep, if you want better weight, if you want healthier life, a lower A1C, a better blood pressure, all of this comes with behavior change. You can't do it unless you do it. And that's why we're doing this at the Magic of Metabolic Health, because we're here to show you how to actually do it. And what it looks like to stick to a plan, and what it looks like to have proper support, and what it looks like to be able to address your metabolic health in a healthy way and give yourself the grace to work on yourself. That's what we're doing. We have resources for you in order to help you do that. And so, that being said, what I really want to get to you across is that forget about what you did in the past. You're already here. You're here today, and you care about enough about your health to get here, to listen. And so we will help you get there. And how we can get you to get there realistically.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. 100%. You know, thinking about what you said, there are some really awesome gems in some of the stuff that you just shared, and that made me think of this statistic, and it fluctuates a couple percentage points, but currently in 2024, we have about 10% of the US population in optimized metabolic health state. Now, like Funmmy just said, there's a lot of different components and things to metabolic health. So how do they even calculate that?
Sure.
Well, they add together a lot of statistics, like how many of us are pre-diabetic, how many of us are diabetic, how many of us have high blood pressure, all those things. And if you have one of these 5 major chronic diseases, that means you have poor metabolic health. So it's kind of crazy to think that 90% of us have some sort of metabolic health condition. Right?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm surprised by that number. You have to remember that, like, there's what, 320 million people in the country, and not all of us are sleeping great. Like, just sleep by itself. You could be a person where you have no chronic diseases, you have no blood pressure issue, no diabetes, no nothing, and you're still like a person that you're only getting like 6 hours of sleep. That means that you're not optimized. You could definitely be more optimized. You could stand to drink more water. You might be a person that once again, you're healthy, but you're dehydrated all the time. You're constantly constipated. These are things that you could optimize. These are things that are part and parcel about metabolic health. So I don't find that surprising at all. Even when you're a perfectly normal person, you're a young person, and you feel like you could be doing better, that's a key that you could be more metabolically optimized, for sure.
Yeah, and that also makes me think of resources, right? So I think in my experience in the healthcare industry, or like the health and fitness industry, we tend as professionals to oversimplify results and oversimplify the process. This one time I think it was an advertisement from a personal trainer, and he was sharing how his client told him that they felt like this was a very lonely process of getting healthy, right?
Oh, wow.
And his response was like, yeah, it is a lonely process. Like, you got to leave people behind if they're not going to join you. And, it's not fun sometimes. And, you just got to push through.
Dang.
And I'm like, wait a minute, what? Optimizing your metabolic health in any way, shape, or form, whether it's working out or drinking water every day, sure, it's not inherently fun, but it shouldn't be inherently lonely or isolating either.
No, it shouldn't.
And so I totally disagree with this sentiment that, getting healthy takes all this sacrifice and like pain and suffering and struggling and like,
that's not true
no,
at all. It's not
that's
true
how they're
at all.
trying to make metabolic health sexy. Like,
No,
what if that became a thing?
It can be so
we're
sexy.
all about, redefining, reclaiming definitions. And, our generation, we're millennials. I'm borderline. We'll get into that later.
What?
We're all about reclaiming and redefining who we are and, what is beauty, what is health. Sure. And I think that's important because we're building a community here. Like, for real. It's virtual, but eventually we're going to see you in person. We're going to see you at a conference. We're going to see you at a show. We are building a family of support. So optimizing your metabolic health for you, your kids, your family, your cousins, your neighbors, your coworkers, so you all can have something in common to belong to, right? Because at the end of the day, we all want to belong. We all want to belong. Even us introverts. Like, I'm an extroverted introvert. You wouldn't believe it, but I am.
Same,
we
I
all
think.
need it.
I don't know.
Let's say that again.
I said same, maybe. I don't know. I
I
definitely
think it
have our
depends
moments.
on our environment sometimes,
Sure,
right?
sure, of course,
So
of
we're
course.
fostering an environment, an
Hmm.
atmosphere
Okay,
that is going to positively impact your choices.
sure.
And so, anyway, not to get sidetracked,
Right.
we want to make the information that we share here accessible
Hmm.
and realistic for
Hmm.
everyday people.
Absolutely.
I'm so done with formulas and like just follow this plan and you'll
It's
get
nonsense.
shredded, you'll
It's
get
nonsense.
ripped,
It's nonsense.
your body fat will just melt off of you.
It's
Like, no,
nonsense.
dude,
It's all nonsense.
we're not here to do that to
Mhm.
you. We're not here to do that to ourselves. Um, and resources are different for everybody, and accessibility is different for everybody.
Sure.
And so I think it's really important that you understand, you listeners and viewers, that we're going to talk about accessibility a lot.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, there are some folks in many places in this country, the United States of America, that do not have access to fresh produce.
Sure. Of course. Food
Right?
scarcity is a big issue,
So,
especially.
and then there's the situation where I live with 3 other people or 4 or 5 other people.
Sure.
My grandma, my cousin, or I have 5 children and a husband. And maybe not all those people in your household are going to jump on this metabolic health wagon.
Sure.
So, how do we talk about that? How
I
do
think
we
this is
address
very
it?
important.
How do you still,
Then we'll be your support.
yeah, yeah.
So
And we
these are
challenge you to
important.
find support too in other ways. So, anyway, I just wanted to cover that. I think we're at our personal story time section.
Let's talk about it. So,
So, should I go first?
uh, go for it.
Okay, because I have a story in my mind, and it has to do with Italy.
Okay.
So we all have our different journeys, our health journeys specifically, and this story is when I made a huge decision about my health that was emotionally hard, but also physically hard, because my body at the time was depleted, and I was living in Rome, Italy. And I had been vegan or plant-based for 7 years. Prior to that, I was vegetarian for 4.5 or so. I started young in middle school. And by my senior year in high school, I was vegan, and boom, like that was my life for 7 years. And this moment occurred on a rooftop, garden, park sort of thing. They have those in Rome. They're beautiful. I had just gone to the store because I was hungry for lunch, and I had bought something I hadn't bought in 12 or 13 years. I bought a can of tuna.
Sure.
And I bought a boxed salad. And the reason I bought that tuna is because my body had been screaming at me for years, honestly, that something was missing.
Sure.
And I had already been diagnosed with anemia. I think it was 2 years before that, maybe a year before that. I had chronic fatigue. Thankfully, my B12 situation was okay. But chronic fatigue, emotional roller coaster, my hormones were probably totally out of whack. And so I had been considering, well, maybe I need to change my diet. I had gone to a holistic doctor at a local university, and they're like, oh, don't worry, just eat more apricots and spinach. Looking back now at that, I laugh, but that's what they told me. They're like, you can stay vegan, it's fine. Even though you're anemic, just take the iron supplements and you'll get better. I didn't get better. And so here I am in Rome, Italy, and there's some tuna on the shelf. And I think, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to start somewhere. So instead of like going out and getting a steak, because I knew that the enzymes in my body had changed over a long period of time of like not having animal protein, I was like, maybe tuna will be okay
A nice
in
medium.
my body.
Like it's somewhere.
Right? So I go out on this beautiful rooftop garden. I open the tuna, I dump it. It's soaked in olive oil, beautiful Italian olive oil. And I dump it on my salad, no dressing. And I take a bite. Like, I take a breath and I exhale. And then I take a bite. Because this was a big deal. Like, I had a lot of reasons for being vegan back then. And they were important to me. But let me tell you that when I took that bite of some tuna and olive oil and salad, it was like the sky opened and all the energy of the universe came shooting, jolting down into my
What
body.
the heck's going on?
And my eyes widened and my blood like ran as though I'd just taken a shot of caffeine or something. This, like, people talk about their blood curdling or their blood boiling. This was different, but it, like, my blood was on fire. I was like, what's happening? Like, am I becoming a superhero? What's going on?
Whatever,
And
girl.
so I kept eating it. I was listening intuitively, right, to my body, like, what's going on in my stomach?
That's very good.
Am I gonna be okay? I was fine.
This is
I was better than
wonderful.
fine. I was
Wonderful.
on
Yes.
top of the world for the first time in many years.
Oh, wow.
And it was bittersweet because I felt like I had succeeded in something that a lot of my friends already fell off the wagon from. I remained steadfast in my commitment to being vegan. I went through all the ups and downs, but I realized that my body was
Needed.
saying, it's time for a change, girl.
Wow.
It's
This
time for a
is
change.
very powerful. This is actually
So
very powerful.
anyway, long story, it eventually developed. I started eating poultry. I started eating bison. That was my go-to red meat, things like that. And my health totally turned around. Now, let me tell you that it took many years to get off the anemia train.
Sure, of course.
Many years.
And you know what? It doesn't have to. This is this is wonderful that you're bringing this up. So there's a lot of really beautiful gems from your story. And one of those gems that I recently did like a grand rounds on is something called your gut microbiome and like listening to your gut, like the inflammatory pathways of your gut. And so this was like my grand round topic, like maybe about 3 months ago. And the key point of this was being able to listen to your gut. Your gut has a number, like is the extension of your nervous system. So when you think about your nervous system, you're thinking about like the nerves, like the things that you feel and the things that you see. Well, your gut is an extension of your nervous system. So your gut is often telling you how to feel. That's why they say my gut feeling or listening to my gut or something doesn't sit right with me. That's your gut telling you what you need and what you don't need. And so your gut had probably been screaming to you for years, telling you that although you're vegan, although you had this like moral standpoint, like I don't want to do this, like your body needed something else. And your gut was finally able to break through and for you to be able to get what you needed. And now here you sit before us, ever beautiful, ever radiant, doing your thing and like bringing that message to the people. And that's why I love you, girl. I do. I really do. Um, my story is not much different than yours. Same thing about the gut feeling. This was before residency. This was before medical school. I was living in Cali. I was living in Frisco. I was living like Frisco, Oakland situation. And I just was not healthy. It's just like I just was not healthy. I just was not healthy. I was not happy. I was like overweight. I was like sluggish. I was fatigued. I would sleep all day. I had no energy. And I just did not feel like a healthy young person. I was like, I looked around and I didn't know anybody who had the same problems that I had. And I'm like, there's no way that this is like my life. There's no way that this is normal. And I was like, I've got to change something. And that's why we talk about behavior change here at the Magic of Metabolic Health, because if I did not do something, if I did not change something about the way I was living, there was no way that I was going to make any progress to get on the move, to get in motion and to make it to where I am today. And so that change came from sort of like an elimination diet type of situation. I just sort of started listening more to my gut, and I was like, when I eat, let's say, carbs like rice and potato, I felt more sluggish. I felt like I was like passed out. I felt like I had the itis, as Black folks say sometimes. I just didn't feel great. But when I ate like salads and eggs, breakfast was like my favorite meal, and I meats and like veggies, I felt better. I felt energetic. I felt like different. And I was like, okay, I wonder if I remove this entire category of food out of my diet, if things would get better for me. And guess what? They did. They immediately did. I'm talking about within a week. I saw big changes, and I was like, wait a minute. I wonder if this is something other people are also dealing with this. And that's how I found a community. And I found that there is such a thing called the keto diet. And the keto diet removes carbs out of your diet almost completely. And it allows your body to create energy endogenously, or that means from within. And so I just started doing that, and then I started working out, and I just did more things, and I took a multivitamin, and I found out more water, better sleep, and I just kept on optimizing myself little by little, day by day, and it changed everything. When I mean everything. I applied for medical school. I got into medical school. I did all the rotations. I got into residency. I killed residency. And now I'm graduating in like 5 months. Like, when I tell you that it changed my life, it fundamentally changed my life, I mean that. But it doesn't have to be keto for you, as a listener. It could be something as like getting better sleep. How do I do it? Working on your sleep hygiene. How do I drink more water? How do I incorporate it in my day? How do I prioritize my life, my skin, my beauty, my weight loss, my family, whatever the case may be? That is what we're bringing here in the Magic of Metabolic Health, because we're going to show you how to do it. We're going to show you how to do that. Like, period. Like, that's it.
Yeah, and we're going to help everybody feel like they have a place to say, this is what works for me.
Sure.
Right? Mm-hmm. Now, that's not to say we're just going to be like, oh, you like to drink your milkshakes every day at 4 o'clock that, is loaded with refined sugar and some fake dairy product and fake flavors. No, we're not going to be that flexible.
That's up to you. You can do it. You just can't do it every day. Like,
yeah,
you can do things.
That actually reminds me of a phrase that I have divorced. I got a divorce with a very common phrase recently in the last couple years. Mm-hmm. So you've probably heard people say moderation is key, or everything in moderation, especially when it comes to food. I really disagree with that. I really do. And I used to say it. I used to say it all the time. And the reason I disagree with it is because, now this goes a little deep, but when it comes to metabolic health, what we're finding, and what I found personally, is a huge trigger for just a downward spiral is sugar.
Sure.
Right? Refined sugar.
Sure.
There's a lot of different kinds of sugar, but let's just say refined sugar for now.
Sure.
And I kind of view sugar now as a drug.
Oh, wow.
It's a substance. It's a substance that is addictive, is inherently addictive. Okay. Let's go. An addictive substance.
Okay.
And so if I have a sugar addiction, which most of us have, by the way,
unfortunately,
different levels.
Unfortunately.
If I have a sugar addiction, then if you're my coach or you're my doctor, does it really benefit me to say, oh, hey, sugar addict, just cut down on the sugar to once a day or once a week, And, don't get triggered by it. Don't binge. Just, have some sugar every now and then.
Right.
Number one, that's totally subjective. Like,
Yeah.
what is moderation? You could say, Funmmy, that moderation to you is once a month. I could say moderation to me is once a day.
Sure. Sure.
So that whole advice of moderation, everything in moderation, I think is BS. Number one.
Interesting.
And number two, if I have an addiction, my experience, at least with, knowing and experiencing friends who have been in AA, NA, MA, all those, the best tool, or one of the best tools, is abstinence.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So the issue
is
that so the biggest issue is that you're gonna have a hard time convincing people that they're even addicted. The number one rule for these addiction groups is that you have to know that you have a problem. If you don't know that you have a problem, then you don't even know that you need to break away from your problem. And so I think the next topic that we should talk about, like probably the next episode, after this whole definition of what metabolic health is do you have a sugar addiction? And what are the markers of sugar addiction in order for you to be cognizant that, hey, by the way, maybe you have an issue and maybe that's why you're not able to get to your metabolic health goals. That could be a nice little tangent because that's going to be it.
I like that. Yeah, we have a lot of episodes kind of drafted up, but we kept kind of switching. Like, okay, we know what the first one's going to be, but what's the second one? Like, what's most important?
I think that's huge. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that's huge.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we just got it. Figured it out.
Perfect.
So let's see. What's next on our list to talk about?
I think that's it.
Well, we've covered a lot. I feel like we did a good job at defining poor metabolic health and optimized metabolic health.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, the video that we shared with our colleagues, all their information is going to be listed. Oh, hi. Puppy's here to say hello. All their information is going to be listed below. So you can check out their socials. You can learn more about their research, and there's a couple authors that are in that video. So we'll be sure to tag them. And hopefully some of them will come on the podcast.
I can't wait to have them as guests. Some of them are just so knowledgeable, so smart, so funny. Some of them, we met them at the San Diego conference. It was excellent. I'm really excited for everything that's coming up. Please bring us your questions, your comments, any questions that you may have. I'm drafting up lists of things that I can talk to you guys about, or things that you may not understand that your doctors have brought to you, and help us explain it in layman terms. What is this and how do I do it? Stuff like that. Just a gentle reminder to have grace with yourself. You're already doing the job by even being here. You care enough about your health for you to know what's up. And that's huge. That's a really big step. Take clap for yourself. You did that. You're already here. And so we're here to help you get there. The question is, are you ready?
Are you ready? Well, there's different levels of being ready. And
there is actually.
I think that the fact that you're listening or watching us is one level of ready. And that's great. So thank you so much for being here for our inaugural episode of Magic of Metabolic Health.
Perfect.
We've shared a lot today. We have one more thing to share. And so one thing that you should know about me is I'm not only a personal trainer and sort of health, lifestyle, food coach, still trying to figure out that definition, but I'm a trained actor. And I've been acting my whole life. And I was just born this way. I can't help it. I've tried to not do it. And every time I do it, it just feels right. So I decided that I wanted to make a little video of a song that I wrote. I'm also a singer. And I'm an impersonator. So one of the things we wanted to throw down today is a very short music video that is entitled Bringing Healthy Back. And it is a parody of a very well-known song. And we'll leave it at that, but we just wanted to show you some a musical artistic version of kind of what we talked about today. Like, what is metabolic health? What does it sound like, look like, feel like? And you probably won't recognize me in the video, but it's super short. It's just so a fun, little experience that we might rinse and repeat with other songs and artists down the line to make our show a little bit more unique and fun, because as we've mentioned, our health journeys can't just be full of suffering and struggle and sacrifice and loneliness, right?
No.
We want you all to feel supported, encouraged, inspired, to get creative, right?
That's right.
Get creative with your health. You don't have to do it like everybody else. You are you. You are the only you.
Right.
And you know what's best. And you know what's worked and hasn't worked for you. And so one more thing I remember Funmmy mentioned earlier, leave the past in the past sort of thing. Like, you are here now.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, agreed. And as a personal trainer, one of the things that I focus a lot on with my clients is self-efficacy. And that has to do with behavior change, 100%. And so I'm bringing it up because there are certain things from our past that we need to leave in the past. And then there are other things that we kind of want to swing over our shoulder and be like, oh yeah, this is really cool. This is really awesome. I did that. And I can, the AI picked up my thumbs. Oh, here. There's
it's so good. I love that. Let us be
so self-efficacy.
Let us be efficacious in our doings. Let us be efficacious in our health, in our metabolic health. Let us make sure that we make metabolic health sexy again. And honestly, enjoy our video. Until next time, everybody. Cheers.
We're bringing healthy back. Them other bros don't know about the facts. Your health is special, metabolic, yeah. Let's build new habits, make them sexy, yeah. Sustainable life, metabolic. You hear this word, baby, sounds great. A term that's good for what you truly crave. The food heals neural pathways. Take it from the fridge. Come eat, girl. Go ahead with protein. Health you can hack. You know we rock that. Sugar free. Go ahead, get rid of it. Meat's on me. Go ahead, be grilling. Let me see what you're cooking go with. Feed those kids with it. Seasoned chops. Go shake that spice on it. Making me drool. Go ahead, devour it. Yeah, olive oil. Go ahead, get fresh with it. Let the fat flow. We sure be down with fatty acids, yo. Keep that brain fit. A1C. We rock it. 5.6. That's how we like it. Bringing healthy back. Metabolic magic. Bringing healthy back. Metabolic magic. Disease-free life. Get your health right. We gonna win it.